we established that right from the jump that like we're going to press and that's going to be part of our identity. And I think it took a little while for the team to buy in and understand like why we're doing that, because it's hard. Like a lot of running is required, and it has to be a collective mentality if you're going to do it, because if one person goes and nobody else does, then you just get caught spinning. So that's a big piece.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to season 3 of Run It Back. I am your host, Jazsmin Halliburton. Now, look, I want to start off by saying I apologize for coming back so damn late. Hey, I'm a young adult, still trying to figure things out and trying to figure out my schedule, but it is what it is. But I still appreciate you for tuning back in for season 3. It's good to see y'all again. Now, I know we about 6 games left of K-State women's soccer. I know we got things going on with K-State volleyball, but today we want to focus a little bit more on K-State soccer because they do have 6 games left in the season. And now, look here. If you ain't been following K-State soccer, let me tell you something. It's a new day. It's a new dawn. And I have to say, I'm feeling good because you have first season at K-State coach Colleen Corbin. And let me tell you, statistically, on paper, the improvements are damn near astronomical. I'm telling you right now, their overall record is what? 5 wins, 4 losses, 3 draws, right? They are 0-3-2 when it comes to conference play. Sure, yes, once again, this is Coach Corbin's first season at K-State, but let me go ahead and tell you what the improvement is already record-wise compared to last season with K-State soccer. Last season, they finished the year 3 wins, 12 losses, and 3 draws. Now let's rewind a little bit. K-State already has 5 wins on the season with 6 games left in it. That's already in itself some improvements. But there's a couple more things I gotta say about how much better that we are seeing from this team and how much of a good job that Coach Corbin is doing already halfway through the season in her first year at K-State. So far, K-State has scored 14 goals this season. Last season, K-State scored 17 goals. They have 6 games to get 3 more goals, and I feel like they are able to do that because they're offensively, if you've been able to at least watch a couple of the games, a couple of minutes, you are seeing the chances that are there. You are seeing the opportunities. It looks, I don't know, it looks almost free. They're not trying to overthink some things, right? And now another thing I want to share, at least defensively, the amount of goals that opponents have scored this season has been 11. K-State is outscoring their opponents this season. This is something that I don't think has been done in the K-State history of women's soccer here, because of course it's still a fairly new program, about a decade old at this point. Now, 11 goals scored by opponents this season. Can I tell you how many goals were scored by opponents last season? Let me check. With 27. Let that marinate, let that cook. This year, K-State has allowed 11 goals. Last year, 2024, K-State gave up 27 goals. I'm telling you, if that ain't some improvement for yo behind, you got to start looking at something else, okay? And now there's 7 shutouts out of the 12 games that they've played so far. You got to give major props to Maddie Sibbing, who is in the net for K-State. She's been doing her absolute thing. But I'm telling you, statistically, on paper, they are doing fantastic so far, especially what we've seen in years past, in seasons past. They have more shots on goals. They are allowing less shots on goals for their opponent. They have 68 already this season. Last year they only had 83 opponents shots on goal. They have 55 this season. 55 shots on goal for the opponents this season. Let me tell you again what opponents had last season. 129. You hear this number? I'll say it again. Opponents' shots on goal so far this season, after 12 games, once again, I'll say it, 6 games left in this season, they have allowed 55 shots on goal. That's 55 opportunities for opponents to score, right? But now, of course, we do see these incredible numbers. The defense just absolutely going crazy. Their last game against UCF, I'm telling you, UCF was a very, very powerful offense. They were rocking and rolling essentially so far this season, especially the opponent they had beforehand. That's escaping my mind at the moment. But after watching the game against UCF Golden Knights this past weekend, mind you, in a monsoon, for what the last, I want to say 5 to 10 minutes of the first half into halfway through the second half, complete pouring rain. They've had suffocating defense. And what do we expect from a defensive-minded coach like Coach Colleen Corbin, who is a goalkeeper herself in her career, collegiate career and professional career. So it's just so, what's the word? Refreshing. Now, I don't want to just completely crap on, her the coach that she replaced, Coach Mike Dabini. Of course, it's really hard to build a program from the ground up. He was their first hire at K-State for K-State women's soccer. He's now moved on. He's now the head coach at UC Riverside in California. But it's nice to see a little bit of spice, a little bit of drive in this team that I feel like we've been missing a little bit. And that's something that can just draw in more fans, because K-State fans, we can be spoiled at times. We're always the underdog, but we know that we have toughness, we got grit, and the teams do too. That's just built in the fan base. That is just Kansas built. As someone's from Texas, and I went to school to K-State and lived there for 7-8 years, I've learned that, and I've learned that fast. K-State fans are used to a standard, right? And so far in this season, Coach Corbin, she's set that standard. She has set that standard, and she's done an absolutely wonderful job, right? And now we're going back to a little bit of the stats that we've seen so far this season about with more goals scored. We already told you what they've been able to do defensively, the amount of goals that are allowed this season so far, the amount of shots on goals that were allowed this season so far, and compare that to last year. But now offensively, we got to talk about some things. They have 14 goals already on the season, and you have three players already on this team, a couple of young players that have already scored 3 goals. Like you have Hannah Palmer. She has 3 goals on the season, 4 assists, I will add. She's absolutely balling right now. The confidence that you're seeing some of these players. She had 1 goal all of last year. She now has 3 with 4 assists in the games she's been able to play. Andra Moeller, the senior, we've recognized her name. She's been in this program straight from Jump Street. She has 3 goals this season. She had 1 goal last season, and before coming into this season, she only had 2 for her career, right? And now Allison Marshall, sophomore, she has 3 goals as well. She had 2 goals in all of 2024. You see more confidence. You see more chances going forward, going up in the final third. You see more of this energy that I feel like the team has really been missing the last few years. Kind of more inspiration, more drive to be able to really put in the back of the net, have more aggressiveness to them. It's wonderful to see, because once again, it's a standard that we see in other sports, obviously at K-State and as K-State fans, and what we always like to see. And now we're seeing it in K-State women's soccer as well, where there was a point where really all you can do is go up, right? You can't go anywhere else but up. And we've seen that the past few years with some failing seasons, but now it's turned anew. It's turned anew, and this is something that's really, really exciting to see. And something else that's going to be very exciting to see, because I have a special guest coming up at the end of this break, none other than Coach Colleen Corbin herself, who I've been talking up essentially for 10 minutes now. we're finally going to be able to hear from her and talk to her about the job that she's been able to do, where they want to be at this season, where they want to be at the end of the season, and of course their upcoming matchup against Oklahoma State on Friday night at 6 on ESPN Plus. You're not going to want to miss this great conversation with Coach, and this will be right after the break, so we will be right back on Run It Back.
Calling all Chiefs fans, you could be on the field at the 50 inside GEHA Field for the official coin toss at a Chiefs home game this season. Visit Chiefs.com/GEHA now. Enter to win a chance to be on the field for a once-in-a-lifetime view of the pre-game coin toss. Plus, you can score other exclusive prizes. Enter for a chance to win at Chiefs.com/GEHA. GEHA is the proud partner of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Chiefs Kingdom, I have got a question for you. What is your favorite touchdown? Well, for me, I can confidently say that my favorite touchdown, it's the next one, because with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, every touchdown could bring you closer to cashing in. From the first touchdown score to anytime touchdown props or the thrill of live in-game betting, every snap is loaded with opportunity. From spreads to money lines, same-game parlays, regular parlays, you want it, DraftKings has got it. Here's the best part. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. I use DraftKings Sportsbook, and you should too. Your team hitting pay dirt pays out to you. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, fees may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Minimum minus 500 odds required. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
All right, everyone, welcome back to once again Run It Back, where I have a very special guest and first season with K-State women's soccer coach Colleen Corbin. Thank you. I really appreciate you for joining me on this show. And I have to be probably one of the many people to tell you that so far this season, your first year, you've been doing a hell of a job. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, Coach, I've been looking at, of course, statistically, watching the games and everything like that. I mean, we're already over halfway through the season at this point, and you guys have made several, like at least statistical improvements from not only, of course, last year, but in years past. So coming in, of course, to your first season, once again, halfway through the season already, what were some things that you wanted to do differently compared to maybe what you've studied from seasons past at K-State?
Yeah, quite frankly, I actually didn't do a whole lot of research on the team itself coming in. I had done a lot of research about the school, the university, the athletic department, kind of like the core values of the community and like what this place stands for. And a big piece of it, like being in a college town, especially in the middle of Kansas, is just like this blue collar mentality, right? And like being a part of something that's bigger than yourself. And so those were kind of the first two things that stood out to me, and some of the things that like I felt like we needed to emulate right from the jump. In the one game that I did watch when I was going through the interview process, I think the main thing I took away from watching that game was just the lack of identity. Just feeling like the team didn't have, it was hard to tell anyway, like if there was a system or a style of play, or again, just a cultural identity that like made them who they were. And that's really tough. Like when you're trying to win games at a high level, if you don't have an identity, a philosophy, something that people are buying into, now you're just kind of leaving it up to the soccer gods to decide what's going to happen on the day. So that was kind of like the first thing that the staff and I addressed, was just wanting to come up with clear values, expectations, just building a culture around competing at a high level and wanting to win and doing what's required, which is usually a lot of hard things. So just like getting them comfortable with adversity and familiar with adversity, and knowing that failure is a part of growth, and being willing to take risks so that we can fail, so we can grow, and all that stuff is hard. So, but the kids have been great. Like the team's been awesome. They were hungry for change, and they knew they didn't have an identity. They knew that they needed, like a clear path forward. And so, they've bought in. I think that's the thing that's been most impressive about this group, is just like, even in games where we walk away and feel like the result could have, should have, would have been different, they show up the next day hungry and ready to get back to work. So it's just been fun to kind of see them create that energy and that culture for themselves, and then be excited about leaning into it and buying into it.
So a little bit more on the identity and the culture for fans that are, of course, still trying to get familiar with not only the team, but of course with you and some of these players, because it's still a fairly young roster. How would you describe that identity and that drive, at least to them, to the K-State fans who are still?
Yeah. So I think from a soccer perspective, out of possessions, when we don't have the ball, like we want to press, we want to make it uncomfortable, we want to address the ball, we want to throw hard tackles. And, I think a big piece of that is, number one, like winning the ball back so we can have it and go forward and score goals, but also just being disruptive, like causing chaos, causing problems for the other team. I think for anyone that watched the UCF game this past weekend, like that was our biggest takeaway, is like we just felt like we were disruptive. And it made it really, really challenging for UCF to kind of get a rhythm or fall into, what they're comfortable doing, which is keeping the ball and going forward. And so we established that right from the jump, that like we're going to press, and that's going to be part of our identity. And, I think it took a little while for the team to buy in and understand like why we're doing that, because it's hard. Like a lot of running is required, and it has to be a collective mentality if you're going to do it, because if one person goes and nobody else does, then you just get caught spinning. So that's a big piece. And then in possession, when we have the ball, we want there to be decision making. We want it to feel creative. And I think that's probably the phase that there's been the most growth in this fall. I think by the end of the spring, the kids had a really good understanding about what it feels like to press, what it looks like to press in the way that we want to do it. But I think where we've had the most growth this fall in particular is just our confidence with the ball and our decision-making with the ball. We don't do a whole lot of like structured patterns or like running plays. Like I think that's a big thing in soccer, especially in this country, is like setting people up in certain positions or certain patterns and just like running different like passing patterns. But we don't do a lot of that. We try to make it as like free flowing and in context as possible. So under pressure in realistic situations where they're having to make decisions, because we never know, right? Like we could scout an opponent and think that they're going to come out in one shape, or, press or not press or whatever. And then if things look different, the kids have to be able to solve it on the fly, because we don't get timeouts. We don't have time to make adjustments. They have to be able to solve problems and find the space on their own. So a lot of that for us, like we're on the ball a lot in training. We're in context a lot in training. There's always pressure. There's always decision-making involved, so that when they are on the field, they feel confident making those decisions and reading the space that's available, instead of just playing the ball where the coach told them to play the ball. So, and that's been fun to watch.
Awesome. This is kind of like a two-parter, because you kind of touched on it a little bit in your answer. Defensively, I see so much improvement. I feel like a lot of people who've watched this team in the past and watching them this season, like the amount of goals allowed is significantly less so far. We're like halfway through the season, and you talked about kind of that defensive mindset of what you wanted to implement and the part of the identity that they have. Is it where you want it to be already? Is it ahead of schedule? Do you still think there's a lot more, I guess, room to grow, or in your opinion about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, like we're very fortunate. Our goalkeeper, Maddie Sibbing, is incredible. So like she having someone of her caliber and her talent behind the group, like gives people a lot of confidence to play a certain type of way. Our back line collectively has done a really, really good job becoming comfortable with one another, communicating with one another, and just kind of starting to learn people's different tendencies. Julie McClure, our associate head coach / defensive coach, is a no bullshit kind of lady. So like she has made it very clear what the expectations are. And like they do a lot of film and things in the defensive world like are pretty black and white. So I think that helps. But I think overall the team just again kind of embraced this identity of like we're going to defend all across the field. So like it's not just the back four and the goalkeeper that are responsible for shutouts, like it's the whole team. And that starts again with our front group initiating the press and making it uncomfortable for people. So, but to go back to your question, like, I think we're really, really happy with our defensive presence overall. I think, again, we're making it really hard for teams that are very good at soccer to be able to play. TCU being one of the top 10 teams in the country, like us taking them 0-0 until the 82nd minute or whatever it was, like, and we did that because we pressed them, like the kids weren't afraid, like they weren't hesitant. And I think just continuing to build that confidence that like this is effective and it works. You just have to believe and like you got to do it together. And if you do, good things are going to happen. So I think we're really happy with where things are at. Obviously, having 7 shutouts on the year and breaking that program record is exciting. And to your point, knowing that we still have 6 games ahead of us, like, we can continue to raise that bar. So that's exciting.
For sure. And now to offensively, you talked about you want to have a more free-flowing offense, not so much as rigid with the X's and O's and letting them play a lot more freely. And we are, of course, seeing that with already, or not exactly at the number of goals scored, but what you guys are at 14. Last year, they had 17. So you're already close with 6 games to go. But what I highlight is there are already 3 players with 3 goals, at least on the season, with Hannah Palmer, Andra Moeller, and Allison Marshall. Talk to me about like trying to just like not only just elevate their confidence, but just really get them in this mindset that you can be able to play freely. Because I know maybe that's not the case for the majority of their career. So how did you get their confidence up?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like, we're disappointed to have not had more goals, especially in conference. I think when we go back and watch the film, like we are generating a lot of offensive opportunities. We just aren't capitalizing on them. And so, and I just continue to reinforce to the team, like, scoring goals is the hardest part of the game. Like there's a reason that soccer games don't end 9-5 because it's really hard. So like recognizing that we have to be more effective and efficient in the moments that we're generating, but also like to your point, for a program that hasn't had a lot of those opportunities and like hasn't scored a lot of goals in conference and isn't used to being in those positions, like we just have to continue to get better. And like, the forward group feels an immense amount of responsibility and pressure to perform for the group. And the defensive group is doing their job. And we know that that's all we can do. Like we have to keep the ball at the back of the net and we just got to keep creating chances and believing that it's going to work out and having the confidence that, no, we trained for these moments. We should expect to be in these moments. Like this is done intentionally. And just continuing again to see the ball hit the back of the net more. But again, when you have a group of kids that right now are competing together at such a high level who don't have a ton of experience, like playing together or being at this level, like I'm really happy with, again, what we continue to generate, and obviously disappointed to not have more goals on the stat sheet, but it takes time and it takes confidence and, like you said, repetition. So it's going to come. And obviously we have a really good opportunity against Oklahoma State this weekend to make some noise. So that's the goal.
Absolutely. So I'm glad you kind of ended on Oklahoma State. Of course, both K-State, Oklahoma State still working to try to find that first win in conference play. So least game plan wise, without of course giving too much.
Yeah.
What is your idea on how you guys are able to get that first win in the Big 12 against the Cowgirls in this?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, whatever I tell you at this point, like, is just going to sound like a broken record, because we feel like if we, like, I'm not giving any secrets away. Like, if we do what we want to do, which is press and then keep the ball and get forward quickly and creatively, like, we feel like we should have success. So, Oklahoma State has kind of shown themselves in a lower mid block. Like, they're not necessarily like a super high pressing team. And so us just having discipline and composure to keep the ball and make good choices in the middle third into the final third, I think is going to be a huge key for us. And then defensively, just not allowing them any momentum or opportunity to feel like they can gain oxygen. We just have to be all over them. We have to be in their face and make it uncomfortable. And that's, what our team has shown that we're capable of doing. So just hoping that we can do that at a high level on Friday.
Absolutely. Suffocating defense. What can I expect from at least a goalkeeper herself, right?
Hey, you can't lose if you don't let them score. So
exactly. Defense wins championships. They don't just make that up, right?
Yep. Right. That is a proven fact.
All right. Well, Coach, that was my last question. Is there anything else that you would like to add or for people to know about?
I think just that, like, it's been really awesome watching this team come together as humans. I think we do a really good job trying to talk about, you just in human performance in general, right? Like, we all know that we're not the best version of our working self if our human self doesn't feel seen, fulfilled, and valued. And just getting the players to understand that and see each other for who they are, staff included, right? Because we're all our own individual people and we all have strengths and weaknesses that help make the collective better. And so it's just been really awesome to watch our leadership group be intentional about creating space for people to have conversations, laugh together, experience hardship together, do fun things together. Like, we took the team ziplining during preseason, which was like so funny. And just, again, even like silly stuff. Like, one of the leadership kids brought like a friendship bracelet kit, like, on the road this past weekend, and like we made these like silly little friendship bracelets. But just stuff like that where, like, it's what I remember as the best part of being a college athlete is just the stuff that, like, winning championships is incredible. And, like, that's, everyone wants a trophy and everyone wants a ring. And we all want to go to the NCAA tournament. Like, all that stuff is special, but there's so many moments in between those big soccer moments that, like, matter. And so I think just watching this group recognize and value those in-between moments has been really, really fun. So just proud of the group and the culture and the energy that, this collective of young women has generated, and proud of our staff for leaning into the kids that are here and caring about them and them caring about each other. And, like, we know that what's coming is bigger than what we have now. And it's just, again, been really impressive to watch the girls believe in that as well. So just proud and excited for what's to come.
All right. And we are proud and excited, at least as K-State fans watching this. Hey, K-State fans love to be able to cheer on whoever we can, however we can, especially when it's our very own and a new program. Even though, yes, they've been around for about a decade or so almost, but still not a lot of teams, not a lot of schools are able to be as grateful to watch their women's soccer team really elevate and actually see that difference. So really appreciate you, Coach, for coming on and giving us a little bit of knowledge about this season and what you're able to bring. Really appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks so much for having us. Go Cats.
Go Cats. Now, everyone, once again, do not forget K-State women's soccer going to be back in action on Friday against Oklahoma State at 6 o'clock on ESPN Plus. I expect you guys all to, if not be there, at least go ahead and turn on that TV and give it a little watch. We appreciate you, and we will catch you right back on Run It Back next week. Y'all have a good one.